Hi, my name is Ana Costa-Ramón. I'm an assistant professor at the Department of Economics and at the Jacob Center for Child and Youth Development.
Hi, my name is Cornelius. I'm a bachelor student in economics in my final semester, currently writing my bachelor thesis, and I'm the student representative of the Faculty of Business Economics and Informatics at the University of Zurich. Hello, Anna.
Hello, Cornelius.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
How are you? Are you already in Christmas mood or still busy?
Not yet. It feels very soon to be on Christmas mood.
Yes.
And
yes.
how are you?
Yes, I'm also quite busy right now because I'm working on my bachelor thesis.
Will you miss studying economics?
Yes, I think I really like studying economics, but I will not be done. I plan to do a master's, but not right after my bachelor's. I want to get some work experience, do an internship or something like this.
What part of economics did you like the most?
The part of economics that fascinated me the most was behavioral economics.
Yeah.
In my understanding, it's like challenging the classical theory, the classical models we have with current research in psychology and also current developments we're observing. That's one part, and also development economics I find really interesting because there we can really see what impact economics can have in the real world.
Then you find it interesting that before studying economics, no one knows what economics really is.
Yes, that's really the case. That's really the case, and that was also for me the case because I didn't study economics before in high school. But that's also what we try to improve at the first year. I mean, I'm a student representative of the faculty, and we try to improve the studies from year to year. And we try to do a first introductory course for economics rather than microeconomics and macroeconomics, but rather a small course which shows all the different areas of economics.
Different topics.
Exactly.
So you also get the motivation to study the hard
maths.
Exactly. You know that after this you can use them in a
Because
interesting way.
What do you like the most about teaching and the interaction with students?
I really try to make a class that bring them to the frontier of knowledge and try to make them able to just read a paper in general, because I think even if you work for something else and so on, it's super interesting to just go on Google Scholar and just figure things out by yourself and be able to read the literature in economics as an economist. So I try to do a bit of that, and also to touch on a lot of different topics, so they have an overview. And I think I like that, to be able to give an overview on a topic that I find very interesting. So my two courses are a bit like that.
Why did you choose Zurich?
I went to the job market for economists, and then I had interviews, and honestly, I never thought that I would end up in Zurich, but then when I met the faculty, I saw the great work they were doing, and it's one of the top places in Europe for economics. I had to move, so I came here.
And you are an assistant professor in gender economics and also health economics, am I right?
Yeah.
Yes. When you applied, was this already your research field, or did you change your research field for this position?
I always worked on women's and health topics, and women's health in particular as well. And now, since I came to Switzerland, I continued with this line of research, but I also had to adjust to the context because when I came here, some of the things were really shocking to me. So one thing was the fact that women work a lot part-time. Some economists have calculated what's so-called the child penalty, which measures by how much earnings of women go down relative to those of men after having a child. And for example, for Denmark, they calculated that the child penalty was around 20-25%. And then for Switzerland, there are recent estimates that show that it's around 70%. And I thought, okay, I have to understand why women decide to work so little after having children, and why. I mean, this is the main driver of gender inequality. So then I moved a bit my research agenda to this. So I'm trying to understand this better in the Swiss context, which has been fun.
Okay. Nice, very interesting. And I found it always interesting. We are always talking about the outcome, like why are women earning less and it's unfair, but we're not really looking at the roots, like why is this the case? And I thought for me it would be like a great idea, as we see it like in northern countries, to have like similar parental leave for both women and men. How do you see it? Could this be a solution to the gender wage gap or the research you're doing?
I mean, for sure it would help, but I think there are other things that are playing a role. So institutions is one, but then you have also social norms, culture, and preferences, and all these things that are connected. So I think it's difficult to think that only one piece of policy can solve this issue.
So if we're talking about inequality in general, I mean, there's gender inequality, but there's also ethnic background inequality, income inequality, climate inequality. What do you think currently, which inequality matters the most?
That's a very hard question.
I know. I also don't know the answer to this, but maybe your intuition.
I think it's very hard to know. It's true that sometimes it's also the intersection of these categories. That's where you find the strongest inequality. So if you think like the intersection between ethnic background, gender, and income, that's probably the most vulnerable groups. Yeah. But I think it's hard to prioritize one over the other. Like, for me, I've invested more in understanding gender inequality, but maybe it's also because of what I saw during my career and my choices and my path, so that brought me to be particularly interested in gender inequality. Okay.
You want to pick one? Yes.
I can pick one.
Of course.
Let's see. This is a good one, I think. What is your goal in life?
Oof, good question. So I think as an economics student, I want to have an impact. I think economics is really the subject that gives you the toolkit to tackle questions that matter to our society. I think that's the way I'm trying to aim for.
Approach this.
Yes, exactly. But the path is yet uncertain.
It's always uncertain, don't worry.
Yes. How about you?
I think I'm doing what I want to do. So more or less, I feel like I'm in the path of, at least right now, that I'm doing what I want to do, and my goal is to try to develop these projects and work on these topics. Let's go for another one.
Okay, what was your best decision?
That's a hard one. Probably studying a PhD. Now that I look back, I think it was like one of the most important decisions I took. I come from a very different background, so I come from Ibiza, and I don't have like a background where a lot of people studied at university. So my parents, for example, don't have a university degree. So I didn't know that a PhD was something that you could like do, and I think that changed like my life trajectory, and I think in the best possible way. I'm gonna go. Let's see what this brings us. How do you experience gender equality in your everyday life?
So in my studies, for example, I experience it as there are like only few women in economics, but I think still it's better than it was before. I imagine like 1 in 3 students is female at our department.
I think that right now there is much more information and much more discussion about the topic. So it's also like easier to acknowledge situations where that are unfair, which I think 10 years ago when I was studying, this was not the case. So I think I'm also thankful for that and hopeful for the future.
It's good for your research, right?